Look, I'll give you guys a couple analogies here. I'm going to give you a couple analogies. So this would be this whole like the girl, and we've had girls come on the show and say this. Recently we had a girl say she was going to Europe a bunch, having fun in Europe, traveling in Europe. And when she was in Europe, she had no qualms at all about sleeping with a guy within 30 minutes of meeting him. But then she's like, well, now that I'm back home, I'm going to wait like a month, 2 months, 3 months before I have sex with a guy. Totally arbitrary, no actual reason, just arbitrary because she thinks that will make her more likely to get a guy to commit to her, which actually isn't the case at all. But a couple analogies here. The girl saying, well, all the previous guys hooked up with him fast, but you, I want to wait. It's like a guy saying, you don't understand. Those women, they're just for hookups. So, of course, I bought them expensive things, and I took them to the best dining places, and I even paid their bills. But you're different from them. I actually see you as a potential girlfriend, wife. So you have to wait for those benefits. So let's go out to McDonald's. You're paying, by the way. Or, okay, here's another one. Here's the other one, okay? It's like going to a fancy restaurant. You're waiting in line. Everyone is paying $1 for a fancy T-bone steak. And then when it's finally your turn, you're informed all they have left is a McDonald's burger that'll cost you $1,000. How do you feel?
Can I ask you a question?
Well, I'd like an answer to my question first.
Well, it's kind of like a rebuttal from that, what you said. So you're saying that hypothetically, your interpretation of if a woman is interested in you is if they have sex with you, because if they had sex with other people and they're not having sex with you, that means that your value is potentially diminished. But why are you placing emphasis on your value being through sexual intimacy? Why couldn't it be that your value is actually placed in the fact that this woman is going, hey, I've done this so many times with so many other people. I see something in you. I want to cherish that. I want to nurture that. And I don't want to do that because I think that there's something about you that is different from everyone else. I want to get to know you outside of sex. I want to get to know you for you, because sex places a false sense of intimacy with someone where if you take sex away, you actually get to know the person for their truest essence. So why wouldn't you be more special because she's not just sleeping with you, but she's actually going, hey, wait a minute, I see something in you that's different. I want to cherish that, champion that, and nurture that. So I'm not going to sleep with you.
I have a response. So first off, that was actually Andrew's argument, not mine, because I deferred to him on his response.
Okay.
So
that's for you then. Argument. Sorry.
So
let's condense it then. You can ask it this way, and I'll answer it.
Oh, okay. Well, then, to repeat the question, I'm not going to repeat it, but you heard the question. I guess that's it. Why is the interpretation that value is placed on the sexual intimacy, and why isn't it built on a different type of foundation? And why does that diminish the man as being special because a woman doesn't want to do that with him?
Well, wouldn't this defer to just cultural relativism? So let me tell you a story about the cum warriors of Papua New Guinea.
The fuck?
Oh, man.
Okay,
this is the peacecraft argument. I'm going to explain this to you, and God help all of us as I do it. This is the peacecraft argument for the cum warriors of Papua New Guinea. Now, there exists a tribe in Papua New Guinea where all of the young boys have a specific job to do to become men. And I'm not going to get into it. You can infer it.
Yep.
Okay? Because it's YouTube. But their job involves their mouth and men. Okay? That's what they do all day long, and they load up with that. Interestingly enough, surprisingly enough.
Disgusting.
No, I'm not kidding. Not kidding.
I'm literally so lost.
It's a real thing. It's a real phenomenon.
I think he'll make a point. I think he's talking about the context.
Yeah. The thing is that when it comes to this particular tribe, the interesting phenomenon here is that there doesn't seem to be any trauma. So what it reduces to is what's called cultural relativism. So if there's no trauma for these young men who have to do this ghastly deed, and they have to do it on a daily basis, by the way, can you explain to me how you would go in there if they say, I love doing this, it's my favoriteest thing, and explain to them why it would be wrong for them to do that?
I get your point. Well, I guess my rebuttal to that would be we're not talking about people in Papua New Guinea. The context of what we're talking about is people in the West, and we're talking about this new age of sex culture. So it's kind of irrelevant to try and debate.
Yeah, great. So how would you convince them that what was going on was wrong?
Well, to be honest with you, unless there was a necessity for... Yeah, I think it's kind of a null and void argument, to be honest with you, because I don't understand.
If you were trying to spread Christianity to them.
Well,
I never said that I was trying to spread Christianity.
Well, I know, but I think that's
when
what
out of one side of your mouth you say that to Brian, cultural relativism doesn't matter, yet he lives in a culture where promiscuity is absolutely heralded as being absolutely fine. Everything from feminism to what is now the modern day pickup community says that this type of promiscuity is absolutely fine. And yet, when I give you an example of the most ghastly of deeds being culturally relativized down to your own prism, you couldn't give me a single argument for how you would tell the tribe that they probably shouldn't let this occur?
The only way that I could potentially see of going about that is, again, you'd just have to... you create a new culture. You'd have to educate people on what your perception of sex is, what healthy sexuality is. It would start on an individual basis of saying, how do you feel about this? Is this something that you enjoy?
Yeah, they
do you
love
know there's
it.
an
They think
alternative?
it's great.
Well, then educating that there's an alternative
it's a right
solution.
Manhood, not kidding.
So it's as simple as that. I think if you can tell people that there's another way to do things, if they accept that, like this, we're saying you don't have to do things this way. There is an opposite way. If you take that choice, amazing. But education.
But your initial argument was, why isn't your worldview grounded on something besides this thing? So what I did was I gave you a worldview, which was not grounded on this thing, which instead was grounded on that particular culture. And so now you know that different worldviews can be grounded just based around the culture that they're in. You must agree that this is so, right?
Absolutely. But again, I think from my perspective to change, I never knew that there was another way. And so I always thought that it was that way, and to have sexual intimacy. When I was educated that there was another option, I took that. So I think it comes down to, again, if you have the capacity to educate people in a way that says...
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, why don't you go ahead, and I just can't wait to hear you educate Brian. So if Brian has a chick who is on birth control, right, and they are in a committed relationship, okay, they're in a committed relationship, meaning they're not sleeping with anybody except each other, and they plow each other every single day in the craziest positions you can think of. I mean, he gets the anal beats out. He's having a good time with this, let's say, in this hypothetical.
That's why
he's having Wow, explain to Brian why what he's doing is wrong.
Could I add? I don't think it's...
Hang on,
for me as a
can you let
person?
her answer?
I think, again, the reason why I would talk about this is it would be it's a great question. The reason as to why I would wonder... It's a complex one. I know it's a complex one. I would say, do you believe it? So if I was doing this legitimately with someone...
She's trying to answer. She's trying to answer.
Go ahead. Sorry,
So if I was legitimately doing this with someone, the process that I would take is I would ask, do you see that there is a problem to begin with? And the thing is, if someone doesn't
he said
see...
there's no problem.
Well, then...
He's having a ball. He's having a ball. There's no STDs involved. There's no pregnancy. They're in a committed relationship, just the two of them, and he is just having the time of his life, and so is she. Can't wait to hear the argument for why what he's doing is wrong. Can't wait. What is it?
I think, and this is 100% personal, and you asked me what my argument would be as to why I think it's wrong, so it has to come from a personal perspective, and my perspective is this. I believe that every single person, and I don't care how corny this is precious and treasured, and according to my faith, I believe that doing something in accordance of a marriage is something that should be protected and championed, and it's not in the context of casual relationships. I don't believe that you should ever have sex as a form of the basis of your intimacy. I don't think that you should see a woman as this thing that you can just pursue, and the way to love her is just to have sex with her. I think that every woman is extraordinary and special, and her body is one of the most precious things, and the precious,
agrees. Totally agrees. Their body.
Well, I
their
haven't
body's
finished my argument.
extraordinary. It's exceptional.
Yeah, but I
They
haven't finished
absolutely
my
adore
argument.
each other. They're having sex every day. They think it's the greatest thing ever. They're having the time of their lives. He actually agrees. Let's say with everything you just said.
Yeah.
That absolutely. A woman's body's her temple. He worships her. She's a goddess, and she thinks he's a king. And they're having a
bows
ball.
to her.
And
He
they're
bows
just-
to her.
they are
He's a little
just
bit.
smashing every single morning, afternoon, and night, and they
This is
just adore
hectic.
each other. Tell me what the
This is
argument
exhausting.
is for what it is that they shouldn't do that.
If he's not living his life, I mean, for me as a Christian woman, if I'm living my life according to the Bible and I have those standards, those are my standards. If he's not lining up his life to want to have it lined up to the Bible, and
Like,
he
it's as
doesn't
simple
think
as
it's
that.
wrong,
You can't
it's very
argue it.
simple.